News Review and Business Report with Philippa Hall.
These are the top stories. Naomi Campbell has appeared before the former Liberian dictator Charles Taylor's war crimes trial. She's admitted receiving a pouch of so-called blood diamonds. 14 people have been charged in the United States with supporting the Somali militant group behind last month's deadly bomb attacks in Uganda. And the Haitian-American singer Wyclef Jean has announced he will stand for the presidency in his birth country. Now let's cross to Summit TV.
Hello and welcome to Summit TV. I'm Samay Zaka with a look at what's making business news on the African continent. We start in Nigeria, and there's been a coup at the country's stock exchange that's following concerns about governance and mismanagement. The Securities and Exchange Commission says it needs to restore confidence in the exchange, and it's fired Director General Ndi Okereke Onyuke and suspended the exchange's president, Tycoon Aliko Dangote. The SEC has named top accountant Emmanuel Ikazobua as interim manager. He's the former chief executive of Deloitte in West and Central Africa. The exchange is Africa's second biggest after South Africa. Moving to South Africa now, and Minor Goldfields is to hand over assets worth more than $320 million to black people. It's an attempt to meet government demands on black ownership. The company is giving away a 10% in its South Deep mine to a black-owned consortium, and it's handing over just under 2% of its shares to its staff. The government has set a target for the mining industry of 26% black ownership by 2014. Goldfields says the deal will allow it to hit the target early. The mine west of Johannesburg produced 265,000 ounces last year. That's just under 8% of the company's total. Goldfields wants to more than triple the mine's output by 2014, and it's spending more than $1 billion expanding the mine. And gold miner Randgold is warning on output. The London-listed miner says it's likely to miss 2010 targets. Most of its operations are in West Africa and include Senegal, Mali and the Ivory Coast. Targets for its flagship Lola mine in Mali have been slashed, and that could crimp output by as much as 10%. But Randgold says its Ivory Coast Togon mine will help. Output there is expected to rise 10%. It'll also fast-track production at a new mine in the DRC. Still, output is likely to come in at 453,000 ounces. That's from the previous forecast of 477,000. Taking a look at news in brief now, confidence among South African executives has slipped. The country's Chamber of Commerce and Industry says companies have yet to see strong and real economic prospects. The International Finance Corporation is leading large government groups into frontier markets in Africa. It's set up a fund which could pour as much as $30 billion a year in private investments on the continent. NAMDEB, a 50-50 joint venture between De Beers and the Namibian government, will invest $1 billion in the next 10 years to extend the life of its mining operations near Oranienburg. Here's a look at how the bourses were trading across the African continent. In Southern Africa, Botswana's domestic index was 0.33% weaker, and the all-share in South Africa shed 0.04%. Over in West Africa, Ghana's all-share was 0.84% weaker. The Ivory Coast Composite, however, gained similar margins, and Nigeria's all-share was 0.1% in the black. Moving to East Africa now, Kenya's NSE was up 1.6%. The Mauritian Semdex gained 0.4%, and Uganda's Composite was 1/3% stronger. Moving now to the currencies. In Southern Africa, a US dollar buys you 6.74 Botswana Pula, 7.26 South African Rands and 4,844 Zambian Kwacha. In West Africa, you pay 1.4 Ghanaian cedi a dollar, just more than 496 Ivory Coast francs and 150 Nigerian naira for the greenback. And finally, in East Africa, you'll get about 79 Kenyan shillings, 29.85 Mauritian rupees and more than 2,209 Ugandan shillings, and that's of course for $1 US. I'm Samay Zaka. That's the African Business News Roundup from Johannesburg. It's back to you in London.
Today on Sky World News, the model and the dictator. Naomi Campbell tells a war crimes trial of the night she was given a gift of diamonds. America charges 14 terror suspects and says it's uncovered a network sending fighters from the US to Somalia. Wyclef Jean returns to Haiti for a new performance. The hip-hop singer formally announces he's running for president. Pakistan floods a massive operation to help the victims as the international community steps up the aid effort. The Russian bear on the doorstep, Ukraine's concerns over its powerful neighbour. And in the sport, another day to forget for the world #1, Tiger Woods.
Live from the Sky News Centre, this is Sky World News with Philippa Hall.
Welcome to World News. Naomi Campbell's told a war crimes trial in The Hague about the night she was woken and given a pouch of what she described as dirty-looking stones. The supermodel admitted receiving so-called blood diamonds, presumably from the former Liberian dictator Charles Taylor. But she was accused of being not entirely truthful in her evidence, and now a charity she says she gave the diamonds to has denied ever receiving them. US stocks were little changed by the close of trading on Wednesday. The Dow Jones slipped by just over 5 points. There was an unexpected rise in initial job loss claims in July, along with unimpressive retail sales for the month. That dimmed optimism a day ahead of the monthly payrolls report. France's Le Monde reports on the final operations to end the massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Spain's El País shows British supermodel Naomi Campbell giving evidence at a war crimes trial at The Hague against the former Liberian president Charles Taylor. Germany's Frankfurter Allgemeine has an article on the International Gay Games sporting tournament that's been taking place in Cologne this week. The Berliner Zeitung has the row over Times magazine's decision to publish an image of an Afghan girl whose face was disfigured by war. Critics have accused the magazine of using war porn. In the UK, The Independent questions whether the internet has sold its soul as Google closes in on a deal to buy preferential web access. And The Guardian leads with an exclusive interview with Saddam Hussein's loyal deputy who accuses Barack Obama of leaving Iraq to the wolves by pressing ahead with the withdrawal of combat troops.